Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with today's question. This one says, Vinny, I'm absolutely fascinated by Milton Erickson and by conversational hypnosis. I'm curious what you think the biggest mistakes are that people make when trying to learn this approach. What do you think we should do to avoid them? Okay, I think that's a pretty cool question, really. So Erickson said something like, the best intervention you'll ever do is one that you haven't done before and that you will never do again. And I'm assuming the thinking behind that is just because it's unique to the individual in front of you, right? So here's where the mistake comes in. I think when you look at folks and how conversational hypnosis is typically taught, it's like they start with language patterns, like revivification, imagination, and I'm sure there's some fundamentals there that are useful, but I think this is a massive issue because what you say is not important, like at all. It's an orientation problem, I guess is the best way to look at it. When you're working conversationally, or the way it's typically taught, it's like it's about what you're doing, but ultimately what you need is just your instincts to help you understand the person in front of you. So the orientation issue is that it's focused on you versus your client. And so to the extent you're trying to memorize a bunch of conjunctions to string along a series of sentences that vaguely mean things, and you think just like saying that at somebody is what they need. I think that's a really slow way to discover this stuff, because ultimately it just doesn't have anything to do with what you say. It's more about what's going on in that client's mind, how to influence their thought, right? Talking funny or like in an odd way, I don't teach hypnotists to do that at all, right? Just talk normal. Because think about it, if you're focused on a method, a protocol, a revivification, imagination, whatever it is that you're focused on, to the extent your mind's there, it's not observing the client in front of you. To the extent you're not just observing the client in front of you, you're gonna miss all the amazing naturally emergent phenomena that occurs. It occurs constantly. You can hear it in tonality, you can hear it, you can see it, right, in movement. So I think that's probably the biggest mistake, is that there's an overemphasis on technique, protocols, methods, right? It becomes just a very clunky approach to things if you're working that way. Whereas it's more about learning to, how would you say it? I think I've described it before as like we're really exploring what's going on with that client. It's more like we're on a journey together, and as we explore and discover what's really going on, moving beyond the presenting problem, that's where all we have to do is really create a space and allow their unconscious mind to generate the resources they need. This is a very, very fun, dynamic way to work. It's very easy. Once you get it, it's like a cinch and you solve problems really quickly, because now it's not about you trying to guess a solution for that client. It's about what can that client discover about the nature of their problem. They understand that, and then they start to understand themselves differently, that's life-changing for people. You give someone an experience like this, they show up differently for their family, for their friends. They show up differently at work, because they just understand themselves differently. And because we're hypnotists, we, especially with the way I teach folks, it's like that unconscious mind will generate a solution that's perfect for that person. It'll be something incredibly powerful, way better than what we can guess. And, that's just a really fun way to work. So I think the biggest problem, to summarize, is I think we have an orientation issue. We're focused on everything but the client, and like what we say to them, how we say it, tonality, like that stuff to me it's just so secondary. It's of secondary importance, right? So the development of your instincts and the ability to help a client without technique, that's like a superpower. Now you're not really reliant on anything. It's not about, hey, can I come up with another way to get somebody into hypnosis? That client just goes into hypnosis naturally. All you're really doing is catching the trance. Now it's not about like, well, are they an analytic person, so I need to approach it this way? they're this type of person, you need to come at it that way. There's none of that, right? It's an individual in front of you, and you're understanding that individual, and you're helping that individual understand themselves differently. And this is a fun way to work. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. What a fascinating thing. And I love that old Erickson quote, right? It's pretty fun. So yeah, if you have a follow-up, please shoot me a message. I love these. So take care, everybody.